Welcome into the show, folks. I am always James Yoder, your host, breaking down Michigan's Jim Harbaugh has officially signed a 4-year contract extension. None of the blog boys get to just put out their every 3-day tweet saying they're close. It's actually happened, officially released from the school, which I think is the first thing anyone's heard from in about 6 weeks or so since Kirk Herbstreit accused Michigan of not going in, not wanting to face Ohio State in the Ohio State-Michigan game a little while back. So Jim Harbaugh, different than what's been reported. It is a 4-year extension, so he is locked up at Michigan for 5 more seasons. So 2021, the last year of his contract. This one takes effect on Monday, and it will extend him to the 2022, 23, 24, and the 2025 season. In a lot of ways, the full 5-year college career, if they redshirt, of the staff or of the recruiting class that just came in, that just signed with Michigan back on December 16th. So we'll ask you guys this question first. I'll also toss this down as a pinned comment beneath the video. Give me your one-word reaction to Jim Harbaugh's contract extension. I'm trying to think of mine, because I don't really think about these sometimes beforehand. I guess it's actually that. It's the shrug emoji, right? It's not even a word. I'm going to step over here so you can see me. It's this guy. I don't know, whatever. You know what I mean? Look, if it was going to happen, if it was inevitable it was going to happen, it's about time, because the rumors were yesterday that, they're going to agree and sign it around Friday, but then wait till Monday. So 3 more days of them just looking like they're asleep at the wheel. And then talk about the worst press release strategy of all time, which would be to announce something the day or the morning of when your arch rival, who you just cannot beat, goes and plays for the national title. That would be as tone deaf as possible. And then, of course, announcing it after if they win. Oh my gosh. So they kind of had to get it out today. Contract of a lot of coaches are expiring on Monday. And so if Jim Harbaugh can get this thing done and not just turn into a complete PR disaster, which it's pretty much been so far, but they got a contract signed. All the speculation was way too early for the folks who said that it was a done deal. About 6 weeks ago, Rivals.com, about 2 weeks ago, a few others. Last week, it was Bruce Feldman from The Athletic. And, of course, all the blog boys have been saying for a while. I've told you the truth, which is Jim Harbaugh was looking at the NFL, but he didn't get the offer that he was looking for. And now he's going to return to be Michigan's coach. But we don't know the terms of the deal yet. But the contract is for 4 years, significant salary reduction with high incentives. So what are those incentives probably looking like? Winning the Big Ten East, winning the Big Ten, playing a New Year's Six Bowl, playing the College Football Playoff, winning a College Football Playoff game, winning a national title game. Maybe one or two of those is overkill. I'm also guessing there is a significant bonus involved for beating Ohio State, which could be a pretty interesting thing. And I'm sure someone will get mad about it at some point when Michigan finally beats Ohio State, maybe under Jim Harbaugh, hopefully. If they actually ever get it done, somebody out there is going to say, well, you college coaches are just exploiting these college football players while Jim Harbaugh gets a $1 million bonus for winning one game. And I bet it would be pretty close to that, given the fact that Michigan hasn't beat Ohio State since 2011. Folks, it's now 2021. So the contract extension through 2025. There's also a little more news that we're going to talk about here in a second. But before we do, I want to ask you guys to follow me on Twitter at James Yoder. Your host here, James Yoder. I need some more of you guys to transfer from YouTube over to Twitter. There have been, I think, like 900 people have followed me in the last month or so, since December 1st at least. Most of them come from this show, so I really appreciate all of you that have. Make sure, I said yesterday in the show, just DM me, like in the Twitter, like I'm saying, just tweet at me, like a little icon, tweet at me. You don't have to DM me, because I just don't like DMs on Twitter anymore. I might put my cell phone number. Quite a few guys requested it in the comments yesterday. It's at James Yoder. News that came out this morning that is pretty interesting, that I went from what the hell to, okay, I'm going to talk myself into this one in a matter of a couple hours, is Mike Macdonald, the linebackers coach for the Baltimore Ravens, has reportedly agreed to become Michigan's new defensive coordinator. Now, there are some rumors out there, people saying, well, this is a co-defensive coordinator role. They still got somebody out there they might announce. Maybe, but this is a pretty out of nowhere hire, and frankly, there isn't a single person that covers Michigan football or is a fan of Michigan football, or even frankly a Ravens fan, that's ever heard of this guy. I can count on that, but we're all trying to figure out who he is, what he brings to the table. Let's take a look at his career really quick. So when he was at Georgia, he went to Georgia as a college or actually high school football player, but didn't actually play football in college, which is actually fairly rare when it comes to major college football head coaches, coordinators, etc. So went to high school, went to Georgia, then he coached at a local high school in Athens while he was there in late in 2008, 2009. Then he went to Georgia as a grad assistant, got his master's degree while he was there. From what I'm reading, had some really good feedback from the coaches that were there at that time. Then he goes to Baltimore after he graduated with his master's as an intern for a year. I've got his career trajectory. I'll walk through all these really quick with you guys. 2014, he was an intern with John Harbaugh with the Ravens. Linebackers coach in 2015 for 2 seasons. One for 15, 2 seasons as secondary coach in 16 and 17. Of note, that 2017 season, most interceptions when he was secondary coach in the NFL with 22, and their team most forced turnovers of 34. And then he's been the linebackers coach the last 3 seasons, 18, 19, and 20. Of note in that time frame, in 2018, they had the highest rated defense in the NFL. All right, Baltimore's always known for the defense, so it is what it is. I don't know what to make of this. I've gone from, who the hell is this guy? This seems like everybody said no to Harbaugh because there's way too much uncertainty, to, well, if John Harbaugh knows him and he's been with him in the same room, the same meetings for 7 years, he's not going to put his brother Jim out to dry with a bad candidate. This must be the Joe Brady of defense, going to come in and revolutionize Michigan defense. So the offseason national championship has already started for Michigan. Best defense in the country coming back, guaranteed. And I'll tell you what, the way I'm feeling, the transfer portal is just going to start flowing into Ann Arbor. Defensive backs and defensive tackles are just going to stop what they're doing and transfer to Michigan overnight, probably, right? We're hoping. There's not anyone that can have a realistic take on this guy yet because nobody knows anything about him, right? He's young. I've seen him put out there. He's 32 and 33. I think it's 33 because I looked up his birthday. I looked up the year. He's a June or July birthday or something like that. I looked up the year when he was hired with the Ravens and what age they listed at him. And then I think he's 33, but some people haven't put in 32 in different articles. We know that about him. We know he's a pretty buff guy, all right? There's a picture out there. Go look at my Twitter account. There's some buff guy. He's a pretty buff guy out there. He looks the part. He's a sharp-looking dude, right? He's engaged to a former NFL cheerleader who, ironically, was with the Ravens when they apparently met on Bumble, but then because of not fraternizing, she actually resigned from the Ravens, took the same job as a cheerleader with the Redskins for the past few seasons. She's actually been out of cheerleading for the last year. So, sharp-looking guy. Known to really connect with players. Obviously has done a good job to keep a job with the Ravens for 7 years. So I'm excited about it because Michigan certainly hasn't been tearing it up with those recruits, guys on the recruiting trail like Ohio State has. Brian Hartline, their wide receivers coach, has absolutely dominated recruiting, right? Corey, whatever his name is, Urban Meyer's daughter's husband, their new quarterbacks coach, is just crushing with quarterback recruiting. But that is the latest on him. It's a done deal from what we're told. It'll be officially announced when the Ravens playoffs are over, whether they lose this weekend against Tennessee or if they go all the way to the Super Bowl and win it. He will be announced shortly afterwards. So I ask you guys this question here. Will Jim Harbaugh be Michigan's coach in 2022? What kind of question is that, Yoder? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Well, I'll tell you the type of question it is because we're going to talk about the Jim Harbaugh, the terms that we think we know here in just a second. The reason I ask this is because things aren't going well in Ann Arbor. I don't see this next year's team being a great team by any means. The way we saw last year, I mean, this is a 6-6 team, and you can't predict anything better or you're a complete homer, and we just got to hope for the best, right? And we've seen this too many times happen in college football where a guy should be fired, is on the hot seat for a year, gets to come back, sometimes gets an extension. It almost always goes bad. One more bad year, and it's so overwhelming that they've got to fire him. And because the Jim Harbaugh's buyout has been lowered so significantly, Michigan makes it, we don't know the exact number, but it's lower than it was with 1 year left in his contract is what we've heard. So go down, answer the question. Will be the head coach for 2 more seasons in 2022, Y or N? The reason I ask, again, I'll talk about this. There are reports, credible reports out there, that his salary has been reduced by 50%, making $8 million and some change last year. The 3rd highest paid coach in college football. So if his salary is reduced 50%, and that's an accurate report, that means he's now the 10th highest paid coach in the Big Ten, okay? That means he's like the 48th highest paid coach in college football right now, which is kind of crazy to think about that many coaches make that much money, when I think Lloyd Carr's highest salary as Michigan's coach was never above $2 million, which is kind of wild how things have changed in such a short time. The fact that he's almost kind of grasping for straws here with an unproven coordinator, this reminds me a lot of the Josh Gaddis hire, and a little nugget of information I got that most of the high-level defensive coordinators that Jim Harbaugh went after, Charlie Strong apparently talked to him, Derek Mason, Jim Levitt, apparently Jim Harbaugh may have a conversation with him, is there was so many questions about his future that it was challenging and a struggle to get those guys to buy in that he was at Michigan for the long term. Jim signed a contract, right? And he wasn't listening to NFL offers. So I heard this nugget. I don't know if it's true, so if it turned out to be false, don't blame me, blame the internet, that when he got the offer, when Macdonald got the offer from Jim Harbaugh, that John, Jim's brother, gave him his word that, hey, if you go there and Jim leaves or gets fired after one season, you got a job back here no matter what. Because people are just nervous, right? If you think Harbaugh is a lame duck coach or, he's on the hot seat again next year, which he is, this doesn't change anything. Michigan could fire him after a 6-6 season, which they will. I think he might have some leeway for 4 losses here, but is that they put that word out, which I guess is the benefit of having a brother who's an NFL coach when you're a college coach, but I think it's a pretty interesting situation. So Jim Harbaugh, the 4-year contract extension, locked up at Michigan through 2025, and also the news from earlier today that Michigan reportedly has agreed to a contract with new defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald, the current linebackers coach at the Baltimore Ravens. Blow up the comments, vent below. I'm going to spend all day on Saturday. I'm not getting off my computer. I'm just going to be venting on the internet about this. Some good, some bad. So let's get it started here in our comment section. If you haven't yet, guys, subscribe to the channel. You'll know every time we put out a new video by just hitting this button. If you missed my video yesterday telling you that Jim Harbaugh might be ruining Michigan football, got that for you right here, and I'll throw in another video from last week right here. Until next time, go Blue.